just joining us on Facebook, I'm going to back up so people know what we're doing. I'm Lauren from RDU on Stage. I'm here with Madeline Fugate, who has begun. Is that how you pronounce your last name?
That's what I'm doing. That's the one I told you. That's the Italian Fugate. We're actually the from France. So we're the French version, but we've heard Fugate is our, because we're from Lyon, France.
Okay, so
Madeline Fugate, the Italian version somehow. Fugate, yeah.
And her mom, Catherine, and Madeline, I got to speak to you last week. I had a small family emergency after we talked, and the recording wasn't saved, and so here we are again. But now we're able to go live. You have started this amazing project. And so for the theater folks watching, I heard about it. This is how big this project has gotten, folks. I heard about it from Laura Benante's post. And so you launched.
Sorry, something fell in the background.
What?
Sorry, nothing. Something fell in the background.
Oh, okay.
It's fine. Go on. Sorry.
But you launched this project a few weeks ago for a school assignment. From what you told me, though, when we spoke last, you didn't just wake up one day and decide to be a 13-year-old activist. Your mom has taught you, has empowered you to use your voice and to learn how to be an activist, how to give back to your community, which I love. So talk to me about that, Catherine. What are some of these lessons you've taught her? And Madeline, what are some of the lessons Mom has taught you about using your voice?
Well, I think this particular project was as you said, it was a school assignment, and the theme, it changes themes every year. One year it was homelessness, it was immigration, it was refugees, it was me. So they're choosing something that has an element of activism, I guess, to it. And this year it was young change makers in a COVID-19 world. So their job was to go out into the community and look for ways to help what we're going through with COVID-19. And I said to her, well, there's many things you can do. And when I was young, we had the first pandemic in America in our lifetimes, or my lifetime, was the AIDS HIV crisis. That was a deadly virus that was not getting the attention it deserved when it began, and many people were dying. And it was very painful for me as a young activist to see sort of a government ignoring victims of a virus, and also sort of reclassifying it into a certain category that made it lesser than, because they were attributing that virus to a certain group. And I've seen that done here a bit with our seniors and our African American community, where there's high numbers, people with lower incomes, so I get reactive to that because it breaks my heart, because to me, a happy and healthy society is what we should all be aiming for, and that's usually where activism arises. And I said to Madeline, you have many opportunities, and we did go through many options of things she could do. There were delivering meals, making masks, a lot of things out there for the community. And I said, just almost in my own going back into my past, I remember what I went through in that pain, and what helped me transform the feeling of heartbreak into hope, loss into remembrance. Really, that transformative thing was making the AIDS quilt, and just seeing their name and giving people we loved and watched die really horrible, painful deaths, giving them a sense of beauty and awareness and just existence. They existed, their name was written down, and then that grew to such a big thing. And that was all grassroots. It started with just a few people saying, my person died, they deserve to be seen and remembered. And I was telling her that, I think I did get teary, because I worked on it, and I contributed to that quilt. I worked at a company called Project Angel Food, where we delivered free meals to homebound people with AIDS and HIV. And she just heard that and she said, well, why can't we do another quilt? And I was so shocked when she said it. I actually got the chills because I felt, what a way to pass the light to this generation with this virus, with these people who deserve to be remembered. Because you watch the news and the numbers are just going up, and we don't even register. What does 106,000 people mean to us? We forget that each one of them was a person who was loved, and as Madeline will tell you, that they deserve to be remembered. And I had that concept, and it sort of bookended my life in such a emotional way, to see it happening again, and to see my daughter wanting to do that for other people as it was done for me. So let her, pick up from there, and you can tell what the next steps we did from that.
So what happened? So Madeline, from what when we talked the last time, you said you're the only I want to say you said your grandmother taught you how to sew, maybe, and that you're one of the only people in your family who can sew correctly. Is that true?
It was my great aunt who taught me how to sew. And in my immediate family, which can be confirmed by her previous statement, is that I'm the only person who can sew correctly.
Okay.
No, I can't sew at all. So I was a theater major. I had my degree in theater, and to get that degree, when I had to do the costume department, you have to do that to get your degree. I had a staple gun, and anything that was stapled it. There was no way I was going to sew it. Stapled it get back on the stage. Here, oh, it's ripped. Staple. Back you go. That's my sewing expertise.
Madeline, how do you go from just this conversation with your mom about the AIDS quilt to kind of coming up with this idea you want to do a COVID quilt? What were the next steps to make that a reality?
Well, the first thing we had to do was actually get the information out there. Well, technically the first thing was to figure out the information and then get the information out into the world so that people knew what we were doing. And really, we just had to contact a bunch of people to tell them, well, sorry, I'm going a bit out of order, is that what we had to do first was write something that basically just showed what I was trying to do, what we were trying to do, and all the information about it. And then we had to send it to a bunch of people, and one of those people actually managed to have an interview with us the next day. So word got around fast.
Yeah. And we also we contacted the original AIDS quilt because we felt it was important to always be transparent where she got her idea, and to make it clear that they inspired her. She didn't get the idea out of thin air. So we contacted them for advice and support. And she was also able to speak directly to Cleve Jones, who is the activist known for the AIDS quilt. So, and he also said he's 65 now, and he said after all I'd gone through, to think that a 13-year-old girl would care about the AIDS quilt, because that started in the 80s, and that she would be inspired by me to carry that torch, I think he said, forward, and to help new people, heal from this virus. So that was a big moment to get that connection, and so we did that, and
it was really informative.
Yeah.
And what did he say to you, Madeline, or what advice did he have for you? What were the lessons he learned in putting the AIDS quilt together that he was able to share with you to help you really get this going?
Whew, okay, let me think. Well,
or did he have advice?
Sorry.
Thank you. But the director of the AIDS quilt also gave. Why don't you tell the advice he gave you, the executive director?
The advice that he gave me were, part of the advice was things about how to display the quilt in general.
Tell about that.
And how I should board it with canvas. That way it's much more stable, more sturdy, I should say, when you hang it. And another thing is that the tradition of making a quilt is a very American thing, and that it's very healing.
He said it's an act of true love and compassion, and I thought that was such a beautiful way to put it. When people make a quilt, whether it's to a baby, from within a family. After 9/11, there was a quilt in this, and it's always from a place of real love and compassion, and that's its purpose. And so that sort of touched both of us.
I love that so much.
Yeah.
So you launched the project 3 weeks ago. Right after you launched, you had your first interviews. At what point did you kind of get an inkling that this was going to become really popular? Were you surprised that it kind of became popular so fast? People were talking about it online and stuff?
Well, I kind of had a feeling that this would become pretty popular. I just didn't expect it to become popular so quickly. Because, like I said earlier, literally a day after, the next day after we sent out all the information, I had an interview. So
I think we thought it would be contained with just Los Angeles and Studio City because it was a very local thing, and all of our comments were only locally. So we thought maybe like just our area would be interested. And then the first journalist said can someone across America? And then it was, can they be from another country? And now we've gotten them from New Zealand and, different countries, UK and it was a surprise that, and then of course it shouldn't be because people are losing someone. This is a global pandemic. And I think they want their person and their loved one to be remembered. They want to share them with us and the world that they existed and they were loved. So
Absolutely. So what is your hope that the quilt blocks will represent? A few people have just joined us. So these are 8x8 quilt blocks, 8 inches.
8-inch by 8.
It
can be centimeters.
8 inches because we were 8 feet.
I showed my husband my quilt block last night, and he said, "That's so tiny." I think he was imagining 8 feet. So I will show you mine in a second, but 8 inches by 8 inches.
8 inches.
I am not a quilter. I told you that I love to sew, but I don't quilt. But my friend, she called me and she is a quilter and she said, don't put the backing on it. So it's just pretty much kind of the raw edges, raw piece of fabric. And then people don't have to sew. They can draw a design, print a design, send you a t-shirt. That's what you were telling me at the beginning.
It's in a scarf, any piece of fabric or an emblem or a logo from a sports team. We've had that. We've had musician notes, anything that represents the person, we will take that and put it on the square for them and sew it into the quilt so that they don't have to I have no talent, I'd be stapling it. So we can, they can do however they can get her something, and she's a great little sewer and quilter and she'll put it together for them.
And I was going to ask you, I mean, when we think of the AIDS quilt, I remember those images of the AIDS quilt on the lawn in Washington, D.C. Who is it? Are you having help sew all these blocks together? Last time we talked, which was a week ago, you had over 20 blocks. So I'm guessing you have more now. How many blocks do you have, and who's going to help?
I counted a few minutes ago, well, before this happened, because a few minutes ago would not qualify right now, sorry. And we currently have 35 squares.
Okay.
And our helpers, or I guess my helpers, I actually have gotten some great advice from my textiles teachers. And I've been approached by 2 quilting teams to help me sew the entire thing together.
I love this so much. So have you known anybody, California was one of the first cities to go on lockdown, or one of the first states to be locked down because of this pandemic, how has it hit your neighborhood, your community, your school? Have you known people who've had this virus, or has it affected anybody in your community that you know?
It hasn't affected anyone that I know personally, but I do know some people who have lost people to COVID.
And I'm just curious. I mean, your project is so special. I don't know. There's something about you after I spoke to you, and the last time, that's just so special to me. But what did your peers do? What were their projects? Are they making masks? Are they delivering food? What kind of projects are some of the other projects?
Well, some people were making masks and delivering masks to people's houses. Two of my friends actually made a one-sentence script where people donated money and then submitted sentences to make an entire script. Let me see here. Some people just created websites with information about COVID, and that's some of the three. Some of them that I can remember right now.
And you've been sent blocks from all over the world. Furthest place is still New Zealand.
Yes, our first international square is New Zealand. Right. It's from New Zealand.
And any blocks or pieces of memorabilia or pieces of clothing items that people have sent you that really stand out to you? Or any messages on the quilt blocks that have stood out to you?
Well, there is our first square actually does kind of stand out to me because it was the first one that we received, and it was actually really cool. It was for all of the medical workers who are helping to who are helping all the people with COVID and who have passed from COVID, and it had a cloth mask sewed on the front, and it was really beautiful. That's one that stands out to me right now.
I saw that one on your website too, I think.
I think the one that stood out for me was the World War II veteran. To think you've gone through World War II and you've been that's a particularly, well, all wars are awful and gruesome, but that one is particularly, to have gone through that and then died of COVID, that one really touched me.
So Madeline, when you have, I think there's a lot of people who've been sitting home for the last few months doing online school, and especially in the last week or two, seeing what's happening on the news, seeing what's going on in our world, and they might feel helpless. They might feel like they don't have a voice because they are 13 years old. So what would you say to those young people about getting involved and starting a project if they have an idea to really affect change? Because that's what I feel like you're doing.
Well, really what I would say is that you're never too old or too young to speak out and make a difference about something. If you believe in something, then you should follow it through.
I love that so much. And what do you want to do when you grow up?
Well, I know I want to do something to do with art, and probably and more specifically something to do with interior design, probably.
I love that. So now, are you into theater too, or just your mom?
That's her department.
Okay. I should have known that, because when I asked you who her auntie was, your mom knew who she was, but you knew her from someplace else. You didn't know her from the bride.
I knew her as Kara's mom and aunt from Supergirl.
Yes. That's big in my house too, so that's exactly how my daughter would know her as well. And the reason I mentioned her, for those of you who joined in late, is Laura Benanti contacted you, and she's doing an interview with you, right?
Yes, she is.
You're going to be on Saturday. Is-
right?
Yep, this Saturday.
This Saturday show. It's the 12th, I think, is the Sunshine Songs. Isn't it Saturday? 12th and 13th? It's this weekend is the next one. And I think she's doing that. 12th, what did it say? 12th or 13th?
This Saturday.
You just have the calendar. What did it say? What's Saturday? The
It is
13th.
the 13th, yes.
Okay, so we'll have to watch for that. That's very exciting. And I asked you that I'll show you my quilt. My friend got mad at me because I didn't leave a very big margin at the top, but I may send this one. So this one, let's see. I posted it on my Facebook page.
Oh,
earlier.
Wow,
That is beautiful.
yeah, that's
We
beautiful.
lost Terrence McNally. One of the last musicals I saw was Ragtime. You can ask your mom who Terrence McNally is, but he's another theater person. So I made this for him, and so I will send this to you or make you another one with a bigger border at the top so you can sew it. and I have
She has a border that's going between the squares anyway, so she can.
Yeah. But yeah, that is really beautiful. Very beautiful made.
I love embroidering, so this was my therapy last night. It was my art therapy. Was,
I guess.
so what is on your pandemic playlist, Madeline? We talked about your music playlist. When you're sewing, are you listening to music or no?
Yes, I am. I actually have 3 quarantine playlists, with the one that I've been listening to the most is my most recent one. Actually, it has All Star by Smash Mouth on it. That and American Pie.
I love that. We talked about this last time. I asked you about Shrek, but you said you don't like it because of Shrek. You just like.
I haven't seen Shrek in like 7 years. So.
And what is on your pandemic reading list? Have you finished that prequel to the Hunger Games yet?
To be completely honest, I haven't started it yet, but I really do. I am planning on reading the Ballad of the Songbird and the Snakes. I really want to start reading it soon, but for some reason I haven't. I don't know why, but I really do. That's on my book list.
And other than sewing and working on this quilt, what are your summer plans? The day I spoke to you last week was your last day of school. So, are you? What are you doing? Are you sleeping in?
Yes, I am. I turned off my alarms today.
Very good. Very good. Well, you are just, I keep saying to people, I think children are our future. Children are going to change the world. Madeline, you are such a shining, bright example of that. And Catherine, she's amazing. I told you, as a mom myself, you want to think that you're raising good humans, and she certainly is. Madeline, I'm so excited for you. I'm going to send you my quilt squares. A lot of my friends who are quilters are on this chat right now watching with us, and I would challenge you to please, we live in a quilting state, so get sewing, get coloring, get making, makers make. I'm actually part of the Broadway Makers Alliance, so I will post this on their page as well, and hopefully we'll get you a lot of squares. I can't wait to see how this progresses.
And that's that. Just to jump in, as I've watched how hard she's worked every day, it's taken over her life. Between we had to build a website. We do our interviews, but there's also a lot of reverence she has to the squares, so they're categorized and we take pictures of them, and we treat them with real love and respect. But getting the word out there, unless you, in this world with so much going on, you want to be the light that just keeps getting brighter and brighter. So anything like this, it's like what you said is so important to hear, that you don't have to know how to quilt or sew or embroider. You can be this theater major with a staple gun, or you can just send like she's gotten t-shirts, like I said, and logos and patches and scarves and things that represent the person, and she will put it on the square and put it on the quilt. And that beauty was sort of what the AIDS quilt was. Each square or each memorial was different. Sometimes they were clothes, sometimes they were, images from a favorite play. They were whatever represented that person to you. And I'm just hopeful that we get that message out so people don't feel daunted by thinking it has to be something well done or they can't participate. So
I love that. Catherine, what did you get out of the experience of working on the AIDS quilt?
I honestly, I was so heartbroken at that time, just truly heartbroken, and felt that people were dying who didn't need to die. And that's the most painful thing you can feel. And I was young, I was in my early 20s, and we were marching, we had signs, we said, please pay attention to us, please, we're dying here. And it's the most helpless feeling that the people in charge you feel aren't listening. And it was almost magical. The AIDS quilt had an almost magical quality because it was the first time we had something tangible that represented life to us. Represented that person and their name written on it. And it was also, as you said, one thing we took away from speaking to the executive director at the Memorial AIDS quilt was that was a very big quilt. It is housed in a warehouse. So one lesson we did learn was to make hers more manageable. And that's why the squares are smaller. We're making smaller panels. One thing he recommended to us was displaying it like on church altars, in schools, in city halls, in hospitals, places where people need to grieve and need to have a remembrance. We're partnering with a few other groups to make a public statement as a memorial. It's really it's not political in that it's about grieving for people who died. And so we want to go around the country and show the quilt panels to people who would like to see it. But it's by doing it at a smaller scale, it's more manageable than the AIDS quilt was. So that's one piece of advice he gave us that we really took to heart, because they now know they have this giant, with over 100,000 names on it that they have to maintain and keep. So we're also hoping to photograph the squares and put it online eventually so people all over the world can see it. So our squares that are coming in from other countries they will also be able to visit it virtually. So.
I love that. Madeline, what have you, this is still pretty early on in the process for you, but what are you learning about yourself? Maybe your leadership qualities, maybe activism. What are you learning in doing this project?
Well, I'm learning that sometimes, one big thing that I've learned is that sometimes a small idea can blow up really fast.
Well, I think so. I think this is going to be huge, and I'm so happy you're doing this and honoring the families and the people that have lost their lives to this virus, and giving people a way to grieve and heal. We can't have funerals right now, so this is a great way to memorialize and remember loved ones. So thank you for that, and thank you, Catherine. And if you tuned in late, you can watch the entire playback as soon as we're done. It'll live on Facebook Live. It'll be on our website tomorrow. I will put the link to Madeline's website where you can find all of the information about the COVID 2020 quilt, right?
COVID Quilt 2020, yes.
COVID Quilt 2020. And thank you both for all of your hard work and activism, and just stay safe and healthy.
Thank you. We just want to be a force for healing. Yeah, we want to help heal, and anything we can do to be the light. That's what I'm trying to teach her as a parent. How can you help? How can you help?
I love that. Well, thank you. I will send you my quilt blogs, and I can't wait
you.
what you do next. Have a
Thank
good
you.
Guys. Thank you.
It was lovely talking to you again.
Lovely talking to you. Thank you for being patient with my technical difficulties from last week, but I'm glad we got to do this again, and I'm glad we got to go live. There are several people watching with us, so I hope you get lots of blocks from North Carolina.
Thank you.
Guys.
Thank you.
Night.
Goodbye.